Good morning, Facebook and YouTube subscribers. There's a video that's circulating around the internet about a father who is disciplining his daughters. I don't know if you guys have seen this video or not. It's a very interesting video, and the father catches his daughters dancing or twerking, and he proceeds to give them a spanking. Can you see it? He's whipping them with a electrical cord. And of course, the daughters are screaming, crying. Very interesting. All that screaming, crying. Sounds bad, huh? Yeah. Well, that father has now been arrested and indicted on charges of child abuse. He was reported to the authorities by the child's mother. The girls are 12 and 13 years of age. It turns out the daughters were not being beat for twerking, but instead they had snuck out of the father's house without his permission. The mother and father are separated. When the girls went back home, the mother informed the police about what had happened, and it was the girls, his own daughters, who put this video on the internet in an attempt to get revenge against the father. Now, this kind of disturbs me for a couple of reasons. I personally don't think the punishment that these girls got was that severe. Not at all. I got whippings as a kid, and let me tell you something. We got our behinds beat like slaves. Beat severely. Much worse than this. And for me personally, now I'll be very honest with you guys. Every whipping I got as a kid, guess what? I deserved it. Every beating my mother gave me, I deserved it. Every whipping my father gave me, and if my father gave me a whipping, you know things had to be really, really, really bad. Well, one day, I will admit that I was probably one of my mother's and father's were probably one of their most disobedient kids that they had. I was dealing with sexuality issues. I knew I was gay. I was defiant. You couldn't tell me. Once I hit those teenage years, 12, 13, 14, my mother and father were separated at this point, going through a divorce. And I was living with my mother. My mother could not control me. We were literally fighting, like fist fighting. And the police were called to the house several times. I was at one point taken into the custody of the state in de facto. My mother just could not control me. So I ended up moving to Mississippi, and my father had relocated to Louisville, Mississippi, and I ended up moving down to Mississippi to live with him for a little while. Now, I was used to living with my mother where she, it was like kind of like I did what the hell I wanted to do, talk back, just all kinds of crazy stuff. Well, one particular day, my father had remarried. He remarried this woman named Ruby. And I can't remember what Ruby and I were in the kitchen arguing over, but we were in the kitchen going at it pretty badly. And my father came into that kitchen and literally took his foot and kicked my ass across that living room. Kicked me across that living room. Now, my father was kind of, at this point, he was having some health issues, but he literally kicked me across that living room, came across that room, jumped on top of me, and I was laying on the floor next to the fireplace, and he was literally choking the hell out of me and trying to, and punching me. I look back on it, and at that time, I was like, oh my God, this man's crazy. He's trying to kill me. But I don't think, looking back on it, I think that ass kicking my father gave me that day, and I truly deserved that ass kicking back then. Deserved it. My father was attempting to control a kid who was completely out of control. And that ass kicking, because it wasn't a whipping, I got my ass kicked. It woke me up to who was in control of that house that I was living in. He made it clear that he wasn't going to use no belt. He was going to use his hands, and that's what he did that day. I remember getting up off the floor and running out the house and running down the street. And we are in the country, so I don't know where the hell I was running to. Running down the street, and then he came and picked me up. And I remember we were sitting on the side of the road talking, and he was telling me about having respect for Ruby, respect for him, respect for his household, and how he wasn't going to tolerate anything less than that. Now, if that had happened in 2013, my father had kicked me across the living room and proceeded to choke the shit out my fucking ass by punching me in the face, a 14-year-old kid, he would have went to jail. They'd came, hauled his ass off to jail, and my bad ass would have been sitting at home saying, I won that one. I don't know what we gained by arresting the parents for disciplining their children. I've seen that video of this man whooping his kids, and let me tell y'all something. That was nothing compared to how we were whipped as kids. And I don't think of and I keep reading all this stuff. The kids are going to have issues. They're going to have problems. They're blah, blah, this, blah, blah. Shut the fuck up. Those kids going to be fine. Thank God they have a father who cares enough about them to beat their asses for sneaking out his damn house at nighttime. And this is the problem with America today, especially black Americans. These kids are out of control. They running the fucking zoo. The kids are running the zoo, and if the parents attempt to even discipline them, I'm sure that father probably tried to talk to those girls repeatedly about their behavior. And they got a crazy-ass mother that will call the police on their daddy, so you know what's going on there. Their mama is insane, too. Now this man is sitting in jail when he should be sitting someplace where he should be on vacation. Somebody should pay for this man a vacation to get the hell away from the crazy women. It's sad. And we wonder why our communities are so terrorized with these badass kids. My sisters, I have 5 sisters. The 3 that had children decided they were not going to, the 3 of my sisters who have kids decided they were not going to discipline their children in any way. They would never use the belt, electrical cord, or even their hand to discipline these kids. How do you think that turned out? Anybody have that? I can tell you. Complete chaos. At one point, those boys were over there beating my sister's ass. My oldest sister, she couldn't control those boys. They were literally over there fighting her. The problems that she had, I just sat back and shocked. Not only did my sister not discipline her children, she didn't want any adult to say anything to them. That meant my mother couldn't say anything to them. I couldn't say anything to them. No adult could say anything to my sister's kids. And they didn't. So, you know, these wild monsters, it's terrible. Very terrible. And they were men. Because, you know, in these days, when you got somebody who's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years of age, they are really grown. And the consequences of my sister's decisions not to discipline their children were dire. Dire. And I don't think that was a wise decision. And I think they now know that they made an unwise decision. My oldest sister died last summer. And it was pretty sad that, you know, her kids, one of her kids at that point when she passed away at 45 years of age, her youngest son had been in and out of jail for years and was in jail when she died, when she passed away in July of last year. I'm not sure what would be the correct way in today's, either you're going to discipline these kids or you're not going to discipline them. I don't see, personally, when I look back on my life, the beatings and whippings that I got as a kid from my parents, I don't think they were that severe that it caused serious damage to me as a person. I know for a fact that every whipping I got was well deserved. It wasn't like child abuse would be a parent coming in just abusing their child for the sake of abusing them. My parents whipped me because, well, I was a badass kid and did a bunch of badass shit. I'd rather not go into my sinful past as a bad kid, but I did a bunch of badass shit and paid a price for it. And the bottom line is, even now, when I look back, my parents were mainly correct about a lot of stuff. And I don't know. I look at this video and his father getting arrested, and I just look back on my own life, and I don't think I'd be the person I was today if I didn't have parents who cared about me enough to kick my fucking ass. So I hope that father situation turns out better. I think these two young women, I don't think we've heard the last for them and their crazy mother. I think that over time we will hear more about their behavior and why he chose to discipline them in the manner that he did. And I can bet you $1 million that mother cannot control those girls. And she's going to pay a heavy price for having that father locked up. This story is by no means not over with. I think sometimes we as African Americans look around our communities and we have a tendency to ignore stuff. The high crime rate, the high murder rate, how unsafe it is to go out at nighttime. 12, 13, and 14-year-old kids here in Atlanta carjacking people every night. Carjacking. What is a 12, 13, or 14-year-old kid doing out with guns carjacking cars? But we ignore it. We act like we don't see it. And we're quick to criticize a father who chose to discipline his two daughters to save their lives and possibly keep them off the streets. They snuck out of his house. No telling what they were doing. For all we know, they could be both pregnant right now, having been raped or in some type of bad situation. Sometimes we don't know the backstory. But I do know how children are, because I was once a kid myself. And I know the things that I did as a kid. So I can imagine what they're doing today in 2013. Anyway, if you like my videos, please click like. If you don't like my videos, well, click like anyway. Thank you all for watching. I have to get ready to go and get my day started. It is approximately 12 noon. I had a late start today. And I'm looking forward to reading you guys' comment. Was this father, did the state do the right thing to lock him up? Did he deserve to be locked up? Was that whipping as severe as people think they were? All of them, I keep thinking about that, all that screaming they were doing. Give me a break. Please. Please. Screaming at the top of their lungs. Anyway, let me get off this video. You guys have a great day.